Chapter 35, A Father's Hands. David Cole carried his son home from the hospital in his own 2 arms, though the boy was well enough to walk, and would not put him down the whole way up the stairs. It was a small thing, and it undid Ethan completely. David could have held his hand. He could have let him climb the stairs himself, slow and tired. Instead, he gathered his son up against his chest the way he had when Ethan was a baby, the big sawdust-creased hand spread careful and sure across his back, and carried him up from the car, through the tired lobby, up the stairs of the tired building, into the warm green apartment that smelled of his mother's cooking and his sister's noise, and did not say why, and did not need to. Ethan, who had spent 5 years performing and planning and keeping watch, let himself be carried, and pressed his face into the canvas coat that smelled of pine, and felt something in him that had been clenched tight for 37 years begin, finally, to let go. This was the thing he had not let himself imagine in all the planning. He had imagined saving his father. He had not let himself imagine this, being carried up the stairs in his living father's arms, after, on the far side of the wet road, in the life where the road did not win. His father held him too long and too close, and Ethan understood the question in it without a word being spoken. David set him down at last on the couch and tucked the blanket around him, and then crouched there in front of him for a long moment, just looking at him. And there it was again, the thing Ethan had seen in the hospital, the wondering, the question David could not form and could not shake. You screamed at me not to go. You have never done that. You clung to my leg like you knew. And when the water took us, you were calm, and then you weren't there at all. What are you, my serious boy? What do you know that I don't? He did not ask it. He was a carpenter, not a man who chased questions that had no answers, and the answer was so far outside anything he could imagine that his mind, like the doctor's minds, slid off it and reached for the ordinary instead. But the question was in his eyes, and it would be in his eyes for a long time, and Ethan knew he would spend the coming months gently, patiently smoothing it away, being so completely an ordinary recovering boy that the wondering had nothing to feed on, until the strange morning faded into just a strange morning, a near miss and a fainting spell, a thing the family told sometimes and never understood. That was work for later. For now, his father crouched in front of him with the question in his eyes and his big hands resting on his son's blanketed knees, and said, roughly, the only thing he could say. You scared me, bud. On that road. You scared the hell out of me. His voice cracked on it. But you know what? I think you saved my life out there. I don't know how. I don't know what happened on that water. But I came home, and I keep thinking if you hadn't been there, if you hadn't. He stopped and shook his head, and his eyes were wet. I don't know. I just know I'm glad you were with me. My serious, sweet, strange boy. I'm glad you were with me. And Ethan, 7 years old, home and warm and held, finally let himself feel the whole size of what he had done, and it broke him open and healed him in the same instant. Because his father was right. He had saved David's life. Out on that water, with the rig swinging and the wheel dead, he had spent every thread of 5 years' power to buy the half-second the first road had stolen, and his father had felt it, dimly, the jolt and the grip and the impossible survival, and had carried home from it a gratitude he could not explain to a son he could not understand. I think you saved my life. He had. He had reached across a cold place without stars and 5 lonely years and a shattered wall, and he had reached into the morning that murdered his father once, and he had broken it, and here was the proof, crouched in front of him with wet eyes and pine-smelling hands, alive. The grief of the first life rose up in him then, all of it at once, the funeral, the casseroles, the widow at the window, the gray fatherless years, 37 years of a wound that had defined him, and met, head-on, the impossible fact of the second, that none of it would happen now, that the man he had grieved for half a lifetime was crouched here whole and warm and his, that the wound was unmade. Grief and joy, the lost life and the saved one, slammed together in his small chest with a force that had nowhere to go, and Ethan did the only thing the body knew how to do with a feeling that large. He reached up with both arms toward his father, the way he had on the very first day in this same apartment, a lifetime and 7 years ago, and burst into tears. "Hey, hey, Bud, Seymour." David gathered him up at once, alarmed and tender, the way he always did, the way he always had, the way he would now go on doing for years and years that the first life had never been allowed. "I've got you. I've got you. You're okay. We're okay. We're both okay. We're both okay." Ethan wept into his father's shoulder, into the canvas coat that smelled of the whole saved world, and let it all out, the 37 years of grief, and the 5 years of watching and the 4 seconds on the water and the empty hollow cost of it. And did not, for once, hide a single thing, because for once the boy's tears and the man's were exactly the same tears, and there was nothing to perform, and nothing to bury, and nothing to plan. There was only his father's arms and his father's voice, and his father's living heart beating against his small ear, saying, "I've got you, I've got you, we're both okay." "I've got you too, Dad," Ethan wept. "I've got you too." And for one long, warm moment in the green apartment, with the rain finally gone and his whole family safe and whole around him, the boy who remembered let himself simply be held by the father he had kept. And it was worth it, all of it, every cost there was or ever would be.